Hi, good evening friends. Welcome to my virtual class, Commodity Market. In the first module, we are going to learn the concepts like commodity markets and exchanges, growth of global and domestic commodities derivatives market, agricultural commodities market and non-agricultural commodities market, commodity exchanges around the world and its importance, commodity exchanges in India, national exchanges and regional exchanges, and platforms of commodity market, structure, exchange membership, capital requirements, commodities traded on national exchanges, instruments available for trading, and electronic and spot exchanges. Today we are going to learn the introduction to the commodities markets and exchanges. So let's discuss the very important topic of the day, commodity market. What's commodity? As you know very well, share market. What is share market? The market where securities like shares, debentures, bonds, which are traded, which are bought and sold. In the same way, commodity market is a market place where we are going to exchange the commodities. Buying and selling of commodities is being taken place in the commodity market. So what's commodity? As you know very well, there are two items or things or products which are produced. Nature's produced items and man-made items, that is called manufactured. So our discussion is focusing on nature produced items rather than man-made items like cotton, corn, gold, silver, etc. Gold and silver related to bullion market. Then what is commodity? Commodity is a raw material or primary agricultural product that can be bought and sold, such as copper, coffee. Commodities include agricultural products, fuels, metals, so that are traded in bulk on a commodity exchange. Even that can be traded on the spot market. A commodity is a basic good item which is used in commerce, that is interchangeable with other commodities of the same type. Commodities are most often used as inputs in the production process of goods and services. So dear friends, as you know very well, there are two types of commodity markets. One is spot market, that is called physical market. Another one is virtual market. Commodity market is a marketplace for buying and selling of physical or virtual markets. You know very well how we are going to purchase gold or silver from jewelry shop. So that is the example for physical market. But our focus today on virtual market, that is called online market. Before going to understand in detail about the commodity markets, let's have a glance over this structure of commodity market in India. Ministry of Consumer Affairs, it is the regulatory authority, regulatory body of the commodity market. Under that we have forward commodity market. Again, the forward commodity market has been classified under two heads. One is commodity exchanges and commodity derivatives. Commodity exchanges has again classified under two heads. One is national commodity exchanges or national commodity markets, and regional commodity markets. In our country we have 16 regional commodity markets are there, and other regional commodity exchanges or commodity markets, there are 23. National commodity exchanges like MCX, MCDEX, MCE, ICE, ADCE, QCE. I am not going to expand these abbreviations, because in this module we are going to learn in detail about these commodity exchanges which are being operated, the popular commodity exchanges of India. Commodity derivatives, future market is one derivative markets where precious metals, agricultural commodities, base metals and energy items which are bought and sold. Dear friends, now let's understand something about the evolution of commodity market, how the commodity market is being evolved. Commodities trading is as old as civilization itself. As you know, Sumer is thought to be the world's first oldest civilization of the world today. So when we say that commodity markets were found in Sumer between 4500 and 4000 BC, we are saying that commodities trading is as old as human civilization itself. You must have got little grip over the commodity exchanges. Yes, it is a physical market, that is one side. On the other hand, we have virtual markets where the buying and selling of commodities, buying and selling of raw materials, primary products which are being taken place. So therefore, commodity market is same as equity market. The only difference is that instead of buying and selling of shares in commodity market, we are buying and selling the commodities, items. For investors' purposes, there are currently about 50 major commodity markets are there all over the world that facilitate the investment trade in nearly 100 primary commodities. Throughout the history, there have been 4 major categories of commodity trading, including energy commodities, metal commodities, livestock commodities, agriculture commodities. Dear students, kindly note the examples which are given in the bracket. Goats and pigs might have been the earliest commodities traded, but by the time classical civilization arose, people were using gold and silver as a medium of exchange. As I told you, goat and pigs might have been the earliest commodities traded. That is called what do we call it? It is before the invention of the medium of exchange called gold and silver. The commodities which are traded for commodities only. As the centuries passed, gold and silver naturally evolved as a medium of exchange on their own. They were used to pay for purchasing and selling goods and services. For example, or to pay for someone's labor, we used to give gold and silver. A specific amount of gold would be measured out, and gold became an early form of money, early form of exchange, medium of exchange. Commodity market grew throughout medieval Europe. At this time, they were the best way to distribute goods, labor, land, and capital across the region. Merchants would accept the gold in exchange of goods. They could then use this gold throughout most of the world. By 1500s, commodity exchanges started to emerge, including Amsterdam Stock Exchange, Chicago Board of Trade, established in 1864, Commodity Price Index of 1934, Commodity Index Funds started in 1990s, New York Mercantile Exchange is the biggest exchange for trading the physical items, that is in the future market. London Metal Exchange, known as LME. Indian commodity markets. When we talk about the Indian commodity market, trade began around 4500 BC in India with the Indus Valley civilization. It is also known as Harappa civilization. The discovery of artifacts from the Indus Valley period all around the globe signifies the emergence of trade buying this period. It was a period of Bronze Age. The economy was more urban based and dealt mostly with pieces of art, pots, terracotta, figurines were most prominent items which were traded during the time of Indus Valley civilization. So let's understand how the trading was happened during the Indus Valley civilization in different cities, different cities of the Indus Valley. First, Lothal. It actually means city of dead. This is one of the oldest known docks ever. It is situated in the Ball region of modern Gujarat. It is a 4,400 years old city dated back to 3700 BC. The dock that flourished during that time is the best work of maritime architecture before the birth of Christ. So this is the Lothal site. Lothal imported a huge amount of raw materials like copper, chess, semi-precious stones from Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. The main items of exports from Lothal were bronze, fish hooks, chisels, spears and ornaments. It also exported precious stones, gems, beads and ivory shells. The stone blade industry prospered and catered for the needs of the people of the town of Lothal. The city prospered with this structure of trade and commerce. The trade relations of this city were spread across Egypt, Bahrain, and ancient Sumerians. Sadly, the numerous storms and floods which led to the destruction of this oldest city during the Indus Valley civilization, it happened around 2350 BC. Takshila. It is a town mostly known for its ancient presence in the Mauryan Empire, situated in the Rawalpindi district of the Punjab in Pakistan. It is 549 meters above the sea level. It lies off the historical Grand Trunk Road. So now the modern quadrilateral, the road system which was prevailed during the time of Mauryans, especially in the Takshila, that was constructed even for the purpose of trade, because efficient movement of armies. So that was the purpose for which this Grand Trunk Road it was built by the Mauryans. This shows the historical importance of the town, so which was built only for the purpose of movement of armies and even for the trading activities. The city's location linked made it a junction between the South and Central Asia. So this is the site of Takshila. A standard currency was declared and used everywhere. The empire spread and barter system has prevailed. After the invention of the medium of exchange, the currency, that is gold and silver, which were used. So then barter system has been distinguished. This region provided the way for trade between various centers of the empire and foreign trade as well. So this is well known based discovery of the various artifacts, crafts and other things found around the world. Another important city with which we had trade connections with other foreign countries during 4th, 14th century. This port town became famous in the medieval period. During the 14th century, this town is still known for maritime trade of commerce, around which the whole town has prospered. The main spices exported from this Calicut port, like black pepper, cinnamon, maize, clove, nutmeg. So these are the other items which are exported. Include rosewater, jackfruit, coral pearls, frankincense, and much other items. The items which are imported from Calicut port by Indians include porcelain, metals, armors, weapons, perfumes, horses, glassware, and even slaves. So these are the items which are imported through this Calicut during the ancient times. This is the site of Calicut. Let's have a glance over that. So now let's understand the significance or importance of the commodities. Commodities are real assets, unlike the stocks and bonds, which are financial assets. Financial assets, the stocks, bonds, shares, etc. These are financial assets. Real assets are commodities. So therefore, tend to react to changing economic conditions in different ways than the traditional financial assets. For example, commodities are one of the few asset classes that tend to benefit from rising inflation. That means, due to the inflationary conditions, there is no much fluctuations of the prices taken place with regard to the commodities, but the inflationary condition which affects much, especially in the financial assets. So that shows the importance of commodities. As demand for goods and services increases, the price of these goods and services usually goes up as well, because commodity prices usually rise when the inflation is accelerating. Investment in commodities may provide the portfolios with a hedge against the inflationary condition. So there are two commodities, the two main type of commodities we come across in the commodity market. One is soft commodities and hard commodities. Soft commodities include corn, wheat, coffee, cocoa, sugar, soya bean, and livestock. Usually these are coming under the agricultural products. There are natural resources that need to be mined and processed, such as crude oil, gold, silver, rubber. So these items which are come under the hard commodities. So now let's begin our focus towards the classification of commodities. Commodity markets are the markets where, as you know very well, raw and primary products which are traded. Hence, raw products are basically essential part of commodities. It covers physical products, includes food, metals, electricity, etc., but not the services, including those of governments, investment, debt, to be seen as commodities. So basically, there are five types of commodities: agricultural commodities, base metals, energy, precious metals, environmental goods. Let's understand so these classification in detail. Agricultural commodities, as you know, agricultural commodities include raw materials of agriculture, semi-processed agro products such as wheat, sugar, oil seeds, and plantation products like coffee, rubber, tea, etc. Agricultural commodities were being traded all over the world since human civilization. Historically, agricultural commodities have played a prominent role both in domestic and international trades of many centuries. Several commodity markets were established for trading these agricultural commodities all over the world, such as Chicago, Mercantile Exchange, etc. So let's understand the features of these commodities, agricultural commodities. As I told you, agricultural commodities are soft commodities. So they are basically used for human consumption and hence which are essential items. Agricultural commodities production is essential, depend on weather condition, rainfall and other natural climatic conditions. The prices of agricultural commodities are based on the demand and production of the same. When the production is less, demand is more, obviously the price of these commodities will be high and vice versa. The price of these agricultural commodities are based on the seasons and crop period and behave differently as the season approaches to end for harvesting. Some agricultural commodities may have multi-uses, some may have substitutes, soya oil, groundnut oil, etc. These are some of the agricultural commodities which are multi-uses. So lack of standardization and gradation is another important feature of agricultural commodities. So due to the establishment of commodity markets, the products and traders are trying to overcome this problem of standardization and gradation according to the quality. The traders and participants are grading according to their grading the prices of different graded items which are varies. Cost of production is an important factor determining the price of agricultural commodities. The cost of production, expenses incurred for producing the items. Many agricultural commodities are required to be processed before they are dumped into the market yard or selling for final consumption. Hence, the role of processing in agricultural commodities is also the prominent activity. It also gets its share from the price of the produce. Many agricultural commodities are perishable and their perishability varies from hours to hours. Few days, some of the agricultural commodities which are available only in particular season like fruits, etc., but cannot be stored for the longer duration and marketed. So let's understand the base metals. Modern industrial growth is driven by extensive use of various metals, mainly the base metals such as steel, copper, aluminum, etc. So these are base metals which have been classified as cash market, which covers the physical trading for these base metals, precious metals, where buyers and sellers are transacting and the price is determined on the basis of demand and supply of these metals. Derivative markets, which covers the derivatives for base and other precious metals. The exchange traded markets are the key components of metal markets. So another important classification, precious metals. Precious metals include gold, silver, etc. Among all the precious metals, gold is traded in the financial assets. It is also traded as well as investment assets apart from using it as a commodity. Silver too had some financial status as an asset, but it is used as commodity as well along with other precious metals like platinum and palladium. Gold biscuits, which are also traded in the commodity exchanges. So the key features of this precious item. So these are primarily or monetary assets as well as partly commodities. So these can be having store of value because the value cannot be deteriorating if it is stored for the longer duration. Precious metals are more important. Gold and partly silver have maintained their value in after inflationary terms over the long period. The major uses of these precious metals, like individuals, investors who store these wealth and invest, and partly used by the industries for producing other items. Precious metals are low in quantity but high in value. Energy commodities. The term energy commodities refers to varieties of coal, oil, and gasoline derived products. So these includes energy sources as coal, Brent sea oil, gasoline, heating oil, and natural gas. So these are the products which are derived from the varieties of coal, oil, and gasoline. The key features of these energy resources, energy items, so which are available in scarce, used by many people all over the world. So these some of the energy resources like electricity cannot be stored but should be used as soon as it has been generated. The price of these commodities are also influenced by several exogenous factors like the price of dollars and the wars which are happening between the countries. That time the prices will be fluctuating. The price, take the example of oil prices which are fluctuating during the time of Gulf War. Another category of commodities like environmental commodities include weather, rain, etc. So these are gaining importance because of good weather. Rainfall will lead to better crops, better living, etc. So therefore, these are the few commodities which are exchanged in Europe, and US have introduced weather commodities for future trading. So this is the picture which shows the commodities includes oil, gasoline, and coal, etc. Non-conventional commodities. The concept of commodity has undergone sea changes over the period of time. Natural capital, whose products some economists argue are the only genuine commodities, like air, water, calories we consume, being mostly interchangeable when they are free of pollution or diseases. Hence, the non-conventional commodities include nature's commodities products such as air, water, which are also traded in the commodity exchanges. So therefore, it's come under the non-conventional commodities. Weather has become a commodity soon. Derivatives are started in commodity sector. whether as commodity and trading it for a price can relieve the farmers and traders the adversities of floods, drought, etc., which in turn have an impact on the crops and plants. Emission trading is another new concept of practicing commodity markets, especially in the Western countries, especially in the US. In this market, the atmosphere capacity to absorb certain amounts of pollutants is also measured, divided into units, and traded amongst the various commodity platforms and among commodity and other commodity players. Community as a commodity is the other major issue with global commodity markets. Human life as commodities is the opinion of the classical and neoclassical and green economists. Free time is also considered as a commodity that a price can be put and traded to optimize and increase the value of other goods and services with time. So importance of commodity markets that we had already gone through this. Limitations of commodity markets. Commodity markets are subject to many regulations, restrictions which are imposed by many countries. The countries and economies have made so many restrictions and regulations for the exchange of these commodities in the commodity market. So therefore, the one limitation for the growth of commodity market is restrictions, regulations, many different laws. Another important, the limitation of commodity market is limited resources may create monopoly. Monopoly situations will be created. Take the example of OPEC, oil producing and exporting country. It has its monopoly control over the fixation of price for their oil products. Many wars were fought in the past because of scarce resources like oil, gold, silver, etc. The Gulf War, as we have seen recently in 1991, due to the overpowering of Kuwait by Iraq, is a classical example how the Gulf War has broke down because of these scarce resources like commodities. Commodity market system, commodity market environment. Commodity market system consists several elements which forms that part of total environment of the market. So the following chart which shows the various elements which are there in the commodity markets, buyers and sellers, and even the users and producers. Markets and exchanges, support agencies and lending agencies and logistic companies which support for the exchange of commodities between the buyers and sellers or users and producers. Let's understand the classification of commodity market. Commodity market, as I told you, is a market where the commodities or commodity derivatives which are bought and sold for a consideration. It is nothing but for a consideration of money. On the basis of nature of commodities traded on the commodity exchange, commodities are classified under three heads. One is consumer goods or consumer commodities market, and agricultural commodities market, and industrial commodities market. So let's understand these in brief. On the basis of trading methods on commodity market, the commodity markets have been classified under two heads. One is over the counter market or spot market, where the commodities which are bought and sold without without having any disturbance, like buyers and sellers are meeting each other in the local mandis, APMCs, where the commodities are exchanged. Therefore, it is known as spot market, where the commodities are exchanged for money. It's known as OTC market, over the trade counters. Forwards and future markets. In the successive classes, we are going to learn in detail these derivative markets on the commodity market platform, like forward market and futures market. Sorry. Forward markets are cash markets where delivery takes place sometime in the future. Unlike the spot markets that call for immediate delivery of goods, in this case, in the forward market, agreements are normally made to pay now, and delivery of the goods will be taken place at the later future date. That's the brief meaning of forward market. Futures markets are standardized and organized institutions controlled by regulators. All items like quantity, quality, and delivery date, which are standardized, except the price, which is discovered through the interaction of demand and supply in centralized commodity marketplace. It is also known as commodity exchanges, where the futures which are traded. On the basis of spot commodity trading in India, spot markets is known as cash markets. Another one, cash on the spot. Cash is given and goods are taken. In the event of a deal taking place, the goods and money would be exchanged directly between the buyers and sellers. It is a market known as spot market. Some important problems we find in spot markets in India, especially for agricultural markets. All agricultural commodities in India trade in wholesale market or mandis, where the price of commodities are set. In turn, the trader is compensated by the mandi, which in turn compensated by the government. The industrial commodities are to be procured from different geographical corners of the world based on their availability and hence subject to price and other risks which are there in the industrial commodity market. Price dissemination is another important problem we come across in the spot market. Every mandi becomes a monopoly to the local producers, especially once they come to the market. Inevitably, the farmers or producers, they sell their commodities at the price which is fixed in the mandis. There is no option for the trade, there is no option for the sellers to sell their commodities and fix the prices for their produce. That is one of the biggest challenge our farmers are facing, especially in the APMCs. The important issue in the commodity market, especially in the Indian agricultural commodities market, where lack of standardized weights and measures, certifications are not there, price can be quoted and compared across the country. Once there is a good standardization of commodities is being there, it would be better for the agricultural markets. The farmers will not be facing any challenges if the standardized weights and measures, certified merchants, and prices can be quoted by the farmers themselves. Okay, so these are lacking on the spot market. So let's understand what's commodity futures contract. So it's very important derivative market, the commodity futures contract. Commodity futures contract is an agreement to buy or sell at a predetermined amount of commodities at a specific price on a specific date in the future. Buyers use such contracts to avoid the risks associated with the price fluctuations in the future. Futures underlying products or raw materials. On the other hand, sellers use futures contract to lock in guaranteed prices for their products in the future. A futures contract is traded on an organized stock exchanges. It's organized commodity exchanges, with the New York Mercantile Exchange being one example. Economically, a future achieves the same result as a forward by offering the price certainty for a period in the near future. However, the key difference between the contracts is how they are traded. The contracts are uniform in their trading size, which is set by the exchanges. So now let's understand the futures contract. Let's understand the example of futures contract, commodity futures contract. So let's have a clarity of this concept with an example. There's a person called Rohit. He intends to buy gold in physical market, of course, from jewelry shop. He has a friend, namely Suresh, a smart guy. He wants to buy gold from the commodity market with futures and options market. Both of them are expecting that the gold price to increase. For buying, we can use long position, and for selling, we can use short position in commodity market. Rohit pays 30,000 for 10 grams to jewelers. He is carrying gold physically. Suresh pays 3,000 margin to commodity exchange for the same quantity of gold. That is 10 grams. See the difference. Rohit is paying 30,000 for 10 grams because he is going to purchase 10 grams of gold from the jewelry, paying 30,000 rupees. Physically he is carrying the gold, so that is a greater disadvantages. Whereas Suresh pays only 3,000 margin to commodity exchange for the same quantity of gold to be purchased. But both of them want to wait. Do you think return to both of them is same? Not at all. Gold price now has increased to rupees 32,000. Thus the profit of rupees 2,000 for both of them. But Rohit's return on investment, how much Rohit is paying? 2,000 rupees is the profit, 30,000 he has paid in the physical market into 100. So what is the benefit? 6.67%. Whereas Suresh's rate of investment, he has invested only 2,000 rupees margin to commodity exchange into divided by 30,000 into 100. That is 66.67. So this is a period of holding return, not per annum return. So with this we can able to understand the futures contract is beneficial once the purchaser of gold or silver, any other commodities, they could able to buy these just by giving certain margins to the commodity exchange and involve buying of commodities in bulk, so that they could able to get more profit return for their investment. Forward contract. A forward contract is an agreement in which one party commits to buy a currency, obtain a loan, or purchase a commodity in future at a price which is determined today. Exchange rate forward contract, interest rate forward contract, which are also called forward rate agreements. And commodity forward contracts are the three main types of forward contracts. A forward contract will fix the price today for delivery of an asset in the future date. Gold sold for spot value will involve exchange of cash for the metal in 2 days' time. However, if the transaction required for delivery in say 1 month's time, it would be classified as forward transactions. Forward contracts are negotiated bilaterally between the buyers and sellers and are often characterized as being over the counter. Features of forward contract. So it is a bilateral contract between two parties. Price of the goods decided today. Quantity of the goods is also fixed today. Quality decided also today. Settlement will be taken place sometimes in the future. The contract price is generally not available in the public domain between only two parties. That is why, as I told you, it is a bilateral contract. It is not available to the public. But whereas futures contract, the two parties are having the transactions which will be known to the public domain. The contract price is generally not available here in the forward contracts in the public domain. No margins are generally payable by any of the parties to other. On the expiration date, the contract has to be settled by delivery of the assets. Then the contract is being closed. Take the example of forward contract. With this example, we will be able to get clear or clarity about the forward contract. Mr. Singh is a mango farmer who grows 500 dozens of mangoes every year. He wants to sell them to a merchant but is not sure what price will be when the season comes. He therefore agrees with the merchant to sell the mangoes for a fixed price of rupees 3 lakhs. What is the quantity of mango? 5,000 dozens. Price is being fixed, that is 3 lakhs for such quantities. This is the forward contract wherein Mr. Singh is seller of mango, forward, and the merchant is the buyer. The price agreed today in advance and the delivery will be taken place sometimes in the near future. In practice, forward contracts in certain transactions such as foreign exchange market, which are standardized, so thereby reducing the transaction cost and increasing the volume of trade. Forwards have been used in commodities market since many centuries. So these are also widely used in foreign exchange market. Do you know what is foreign exchange market? the market where foreign currencies which are bought and sold. Forward contracts are useful in hedging and speculation in foreign exchange markets and can be used both by the traders who export and import the commodities and the foreign currency dealers. Let's understand some of the limitations of forward contracts. Forward markets are afflicted with the following problems. Number one, so they lack centralized trading mechanism and hence so no standardized contracts are available. Liquidity risk is associated with the forward contracts because storage problem. Since these are entered between two parties in the absence of an exchange or third party is not there, only between two parties the contract is being negotiated. Forward contracts are affected by the high default. Default rate is so high in the absence of settlement process through the exchanges, etc. No preset grades, quality of the commodities in case of forward contracts. Counterparty risks arises from the possibility of default by any of the parties who are there in the forward contracts. High defaulting rate in the forward contracts. So these are the drawbacks that we find in the forward contracts. So recent developments in commodity markets. In the past 20 years, the commodity markets world recovered rapidly and showing the sign of high growth in the years to come. Significant developments that we could able to find in the commodity markets all over the world and even in India. Number one, paced implementation of GATT agreements while paving the way for free trade regime among the member countries of WTO. Liberalization and globalization of the third world countries, third world economies have created greater opportunity for the third world economies, especially developing economies, for the exploitation of the natural resources and in finding new markets for developed economies. Rising the Chinese economy created more opportunity for greater trade in Asian region, increasing trade among the developing countries. So due to the implementation of GATT, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. So later on, so WTO came into existence. Fast development of commodity exchanges worldwide with greater efficiency have created more opportunity for hedging, advantages and other transactions in commodity trading. Rising of Brazil and Indian economies with greater GDP and potential to consume more has affected many countries to trade in these economies. Rising crude oil, natural gas consumption with limited available resources has made commodities market more attractive and hence a partial shift of investors from stock market to commodity market. Extensive use of technologies in commodity market brought structural changes in this platform, like more use of futures, options trading, national level spot exchanges, corporate retailing. So all these which helped for the development of these commodity markets in recent years. So now let's understand in brief about the participants in the commodity exchanges. An efficient market for commodity futures require a large number of market participants with diverse risk profiles. Ownership of the underlying commodities is not required for trading in commodity futures. The market participants simply need to deposit sufficient money with the brokerage firms to cover the margin requirements. Market participants can be broadly classified into hedgers, speculators, and arbitrators. So let's understand these three types of participants in the commodity market. Hedgers. They are generally the commercial producers and consumers of the trading commodities. They participate in the commodity market to manage their spot market price risks. As you know, the spot market where there is a price risk, commodity prices are volatile, and their participation in the futures market allows them to hedge, that means protect the participants against the risks or losses of fluctuating due to the fluctuations of the prices. For example, a copper smelter will hedge by selling copper futures since it is exposed to the risk of falling copper prices. So therefore, hedges are the commercial producers and consumers of the commodity market. So they wanted to have opportunity in order to avoid the risks that is volatile in the prices of the commodities. Speculators, they are traders who expect on the direction of future prices with the intention of making profit, making money in the future date. Thus, the speculators are purchasing the commodities today in order to sell them in the future, expecting there will be rise in the prices in the future. So, thus, for the speculators, trading in commodity futures is an investment option. Most of the speculators do not prefer to make and accept derivatives of the actual commodities. Rather, they liquidate their positions before the expiry of the contract. So this is speculators. Arbitrators, they are traders who buy and sell to make money on price differentials across different markets. Arbitrage involves simultaneous sale and purchase of the same commodities in different markets and make profit. So therefore, arbitrageurs keep the prices in different markets differently in order to make profits. Usually, such transactions are risk-free. In one market, they purchase the commodities where there is a price, where there is a less price. So the such commodities will be selling in another market and earning the profit. Difference between the price in different markets. Sorry. So now let's go into deep understanding some of the regional commodity exchanges like Bikaner Commodity Exchange Limited situated in Bikaner, Bombay Commodity Exchange Limited, Chamber of Commerce, East India Jute and Russian Exchange Limited, First Commodity Exchange of India Limited, Kochi, Haryana Commodities Limited, India Pepper and Spices Trade Association, Kochi, Meerut Agro Commodity Exchange Company Limited, National Board of Trade, Indore 18, Rajkot Commodity Exchange Limited, situated in Rajkot, Rajdhani Oils and Oilseed Exchange Limited, situated in Delhi. So these are the some of the regional commodity exchanges. So now there are other regional commodity exchanges not recognized by the Forward Markets Commission, that is the regulatory authority. East India Cotton Association Limited, E-Sugar India Limited, Coffee Futures Exchange India Limited. These are some of the regional commodity exchanges which are not recognized by the FMC. So now let's understand a brief study on commodity derivatives. As I told you, commodity is every kind of movable goods excluding money and other securities. It is considered as commodity. So we have already gone through the commodities, examples of commodities, movable items like metals, agricultural goods, perishables, or non-perishables, non-consumables, etc. What is commodity derivatives? So this is the commodity derivatives. We have separate chapter in which we are going to learn in detail. So now we are learning in brief about the commodity derivatives. Derivatives are contract. The value of such contract which is derived from underlying assets. Derivatives are contracts that originated from the need to minimize the risks. Derivative contract where the underlying assets are commodities. Okay, like precious metals, other precious metals, agro products, energy products, which are the derivatives, which these are the underlying assets, which the value of these underlying assets will be influencing in the contract which is being existed between the parties in the derivative market. Then the derivative is known as commodity derivatives. Why are commodity derivatives required? Especially the country like India. India is among the top 5 producers of the commodities, in addition to being a major consumer of bullion. As you know, bullion is nothing but the gold and silver and energy products. Agriculture contributes about 22% for the GDP growth in the Indian economy, and derivative market, it employs around 57% of labor force directly and indirectly depending on derivative market. Total of 160 million hectares of land where commodities are produced, which are traded in the derivatives. It's important to understand why commodity derivatives are required. What is the role they can play in risk management? It is a common knowledge that the price of commodities, metals, shares and currencies fluctuate over the time. The possibility of adverse price changes in future, that creates the risk for business. So there are two important derivatives that we need to discuss. Number one, commodities future contract, commodities option contract. So these two derivatives we can discuss in detail from the next class. Thank you for listening. Have a good day. Good night.